next keynote speaker who's going to bring his team on stage, a very dear friend of mine, and I call him Uncle George, but I don't think he likes it, but I'm going to call him that anyway. The founder of Ecox, and probably the most knowledgeable person about this particular space in all of Dubai. You should be the godfather of blockchain, you know that. We should give you some kind of name like that. We'll probably get sued by the proper godfather, but it's just a thought. Please put your hands together for Jorge Sebastiao. Cheers, fella. All yours. Oh, you want a microphone? Whichever one you want, you've got a choice of 4.
I'll start with this one.
Right. Have to switch on a bit.
Mike.
It's on?
It is on.
Right.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, good morning. Good. Please fill up on the coffee. I'm not going to be here all by myself, so it's important that people are going to join me here. And the way I understand, we're going to add one extra person to the panel. So we have a multinational team to join me here today. So we have Laura, Paulius wants to join us, and James. For everybody. We're going to be spending, the next half hour, 45 minutes together, giving a little bit of appreciation about, I would say, how we build the future. So obviously, each one of these speakers has a different perspective, but I'm going to try to maybe set the tone of the discussion today. Many of you have had the chance to see what the future looks like. If you go on Sheikh Zayed Road, there's something called the Museum of the Future, probably one of the most beautiful buildings around. So you have to kind of create the future the way you want to shape it. But to shape the future, you need to have some discipline. So I've been here in the region for about 25 years. So I have lots of stories, which is kind of some you can tell, some you cannot. But I'll try my attempt at least at sharing one. And this story goes actually, it's not even related to blockchain, but it's related to e-government, which is kind of blockchain is also being asked to be implemented in all government departments in UAE. So Sheikh Mohammed used to have a mandate quite a few years ago that say all government departments are to implement e-government. So 1 year passed, not much had happened. So they have what they call the awards celebration for e-government. So he goes on stage, he looks at the audience. Remember last year, I told you that implementing e-government is very important. So I look at the results and things have not moved much. So next year, we're going to have another awards day for e-government projects. The people that present the best projects, we will reward them. The ones that don't move, it will be their retirement party. So, they put some energy saying either move in the right direction or you automatically will get replaced. So this is happening not just in government, but it's also happening in e-commerce, private industry. So all this new technology is about staying current and staying dynamic. So we have a illustrious panel with lots of international experience. So I'm going to get each one of them to introduce themselves, their perspective on this NFT blockchain in future. And we go from there. So we start here to my right for Laura.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the second day of the conference. And thank you, George, for such a great introduction. So my name is Laura. I run a marketing agency, LKI Consulting. We've been doing crypto, NFT, metaverse marketing since 2016. I'm originally from Lithuania, so I think for this panel, I will be able to bring a bit more perspective of what Lithuania is doing to bring crypto with all the right regulations. Of course, we have a lawyer who's also going to be talking a lot about that and all the best, most interesting ideas that UAE government can take to become a more attractive country to bring more projects out there. So I hope everyone here is going to have a great time listening in. And I'll pass my microphone.
Paulius.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Laura, of course, for mentioning my background. So I'm a legal counsel and founder of a crypto law firm back in Europe, Lithuania. So we work now, starting from the start of the year, 100% with only crypto clients and helping them to guide their way through the whole regulation side in Europe and also globally to facilitate and, of course, succeed with their projects from the legal and business perspective. And, of course, I always look into interesting crypto projects just to help and advise and guide them to the quite difficult and sometimes quite fun road, basically, to the success of their projects.
One of the things we have here in Dubai is we have several 10 famous YouTubers that have joined us here and that made Dubai their home. So one of them is James that hangs out with the YouTubers gang. So James, please go ahead.
Hello everyone, James from Crypto Guru on YouTube. And yes, I'm part of the boy group that is now the Crypto Influencers. It's very fun. I've been in the space since 2012, mining Bitcoin with supercomputer and just being involved in the space the whole 2017, big pump and dump, and just the whole experience in the space. I'm also the founder of Magicraft, which is a play-to-earn game, which I think play-to-earn gaming is going to be a big revolution in crypto because it brings crypto to 3 billion people. And my job is to make crypto mainstream because the technology is so powerful. I make daily videos on YouTube. You can watch me every day, Crypto Guru on YouTube. I speak to around 100,000 people every day across my networks, and I'm mainly just talking about the price of Bitcoin, my investments, what I do in the markets, also stock investing, and just showing people my ideas and what I do. Everyone here, you're early in an amazing space, and I'm very glad that you're part of this. This technology is going to change the world, and I'm glad to be one of the speakers for this kind of technology, and thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, James. I think in every time you're trying to shape the future, you need to have a formula, you need to have a secret sauce. In my context, when we created EcoX in UAE almost 4 years ago, we started with meetups to try to create that secret sauce for the region. Most meetups at that day, we get 15, 20, 25 people. We've been running it for 4 years, and we have now reached 150 people, and we do it weekly. We did stop for about a few months because of COVID, but Dubai has remained open in quite a different way. So the secret sauce we put together was very simple. We call it MBC, for money, brains, and contacts. So anytime you're trying to implement a solution or a new business, whether in government or in private industry, you need 3 critical ingredients. You need money, you need finance, you need investment. So blockchain is a technology that enables to do the crowdsourcing of investment. You need brains. If you look at blockchain environment, there's a lot of creativity and a lot of new ideas that are being put into place. We are using blockchain to do, for example, carbon credit offsetting. We're using blockchain from somebody here, we have the audience, for doing microfinance for gold digging in Africa and South America. So all these applications of the technology are important. So you need brains that actually create these new applications or use cases. And the last one I think is even more important is how we build an ecosystem, which means contacts, how you create business development, how you create business relationships, and how you actually create an ecosystem, a circular economy that actually creates or accelerates the whole process. Now, I want to have our panelists' perspective on what they consider that secret sauce to be. What are the elements they consider the most important from each one's perspective? We have PR agency, we have legal aspects, and obviously, how do we create excitement in a large community? So Laura, please go ahead.
Thank you. So in order to create a right community, the amazing community, of course, the most important thing is connecting with people. And conferences like these are a great way for everyone who might be just starting out, who might not even know what are the first steps they need to make in order to build their business, to come to listen to people, network, interact, find co-founders, partners, and potential employees. So of course, first thing is having the right events, like maybe George wants as well. Then moving forward, we need the right media outlets. We need the right resources online, offline, that people can turn to, get the right information, correct information as well, because there's a lot of miscommunication, misinformation out there. And then, of course, they need the right influencers, the right people who can guide them. Because one thing that you read the news, but other thing, you need a perspective. You need to make contacts out of the things that you're reading. And this is where the right key opinion leaders come in, who can be the guides, the educators, to kind of shine a line of where the industry is going. And when you put all of that, plus the right talent, the right people, and the motivation as well, you have the place and the environment where the right products can be built, the right communities can capture themselves and start, well, creating something very, very amazing. And to put a bit more perspective into it, why UAE is so popular for all the crypto projects is that you have a lot of exciting events. You have the right jurisdiction in taxation-wise, and I think guys can talk more about that. And people want to come. People want to have the residence here. They want to spend time. And as they're coming here, might be for other purposes. They still see, oh, there is some kind of crypto then. There is some kind of metaverse then. Why don't I come in? I'll check it out. I mean, some people, they might form partnerships, and they will always remember, this is the place where it started. This is the place where I got all the insights. And this is how basically you can build the brand of the country through just having the right environment for it.
I think ethics and regulation are an important element of the success. So tell us more, Paulius.
Yeah, for sure. And basically adding some spice to the sauce that you just mentioned earlier, I would say two more important things. It's education and open-mindedness. Because from our experience, like working in major law firms back in Europe, in the Baltics, we always saw the possibilities and evolution in the crypto space from the business perspective, but many of the lawyers were just afraid to touch any project that has like a relation to crypto because of pure lack of education and understanding about the technology and about the, let's say, dynamics that are happening in that market. So basically that for me was one of the biggest influences why I need to change something from my personal career perspective, because I educated myself enough to understand that behind the crypto projects, there are like a lot of great business ideas. For sure, there are like a lot of business cases and opportunities to actually help the humankind and community and to bring like actual value. And now my basically mission is just to educate not only my clients how to do their business properly and in a compliant way, but also to educate the regulators and to explain them that the use of technology is actually very beneficial. And this is something that I see, for example, in UAE, that the governmental level is very accepting. And they want to learn, they want to know how the technology can be used, what extra benefits it can bring to the whole society and of course for the community. And I think this is a very, very cutting edge advantage for this market. And this is why we see like that major push and development, especially here in UAE. Because for me, it was quite a surprise as I was here back in October, speaking in other conferences. And when you see that pace of change happening within that short period of time, it's just amazing.
What is your views? I mean, for example, Bahrain, which is a country just next door, is using a regulatory sandbox as a way to introduce fast regulations. What's your views on sandbox?
Sandbox can be a very useful tool because we had like a very similar story back in Lithuania when our central bank basically, after the boom of ICOs, created its own sandbox, invited technology companies to educate and innovate in that sandbox environment, and basically managed to transfer the all knowledge to the regulator. So basically they did very efficient learning course for themselves, and now we see like very good results from the governmental level, because now when you speak with representatives from the Central Bank of Lithuania, you are on the same wavelength, basically, because now they understand what you mean, and they're not so skeptical about the technology in general. So it's a very good thing until everything is in a controlled environment and everyone is keen to learn and progress. So
Laura wants to add some key points.
Yeah, and one thing that was a great case study for Bank Lithuania and all the regulators are also the projects that are so new that they come in, there is no legal grounds how we can start it, but the regulator's like, okay, sure, let's work together, let's find something that's gonna fit us and gonna fit your business model. There are a lot of, for example, crypto exchanges that wanna do business in Europe, they come through Lithuania because then they can passport all their services. So by having a conversation, an open conversation as a government official with your project that are coming in that might not even have all the answers, but being as a partner, not as someone who just makes a decision and moves on, can really increase the chances to have more projects to be more willing and more accepted for companies to establish in the region.
We have lots of influencers in town. We have people like Crypto, Da Vinci, Carl the Moon, and we have James Crypto Guru. So where all these influencers accelerate the whole ecosystem?
Yes, like one, the technology is already, people are interested in the technology, but the influencers are definitely bringing light and a spotlight on what is happening here. A lot of people are also coming to the technology just because they see the influencers, how they live, the amount of abundance that's in this space, and this interests people as well. The influencers are going to really shine a light, and it's more the influencers became influencers because there's so much interest in the space. Like, they wouldn't be so big if there wasn't so many people looking at this space already. And I've seen it go from a few million people to now 200 million people. And in the long run, the technology is going to be used in every aspect of in society. Just like when the internet first came, now everyone in every industry uses the internet. So in the long run, everyone will be using this technology. It's billions of people that will come into this space. And I like the fact that the influencers are there because we can share our experience, we can say what we've seen, what we know has happened in the markets. And Dubai is an amazing place for this. I'm a part of the UAE Council that's working on blockchain as well with the government. And they're very innovative. In Dubai, in UAE, they're amazing at bringing the best minds together, asking them questions, their opinions, what they think about the space. So UAE is going to be a leader, Dubai will be a leader in this space. And we're already seeing this with all the conferences, everyone that's coming here. It's an amazing, and you want to be in, like, they're not going to make the same, the internet, people, when the internet first came, there was a lot of people, a lot of countries that were going against the progression or the takeover of the internet, and that wasn't smart. Anyone that took the internet and really integrated into their society, into their governments, that was a genius move, because now the internet is running everything that we see. And that's going to be the same for crypto. So Dubai, the UAE, being one of the forefront leaders in this technology, you're going to also see very big gains in the fact that this technology will be used worldwide by everyone. So you want to be a leader in this space. You don't want to be the person saying we need to ride horses when the car comes. You don't want to be the person saying we need to use fax machines when the internet comes. And the same thing with crypto. You want to be the forefront of this technology, and the UAE, Dubai is doing this. And these conferences are an amazing place to meet people. Like, we were just talking about, he had an idea, and it's a genius idea. He just mentioned it while we're standing there. So you're sitting around with a lot of very smart, interesting people that you can learn a lot from, and it's a great space to be in.
Myself, I've been involved in over 55 projects over the last 7 years, so it's been a very rocky road sometimes. So in order for us to achieve and build the future, you need to be able to address challenges. Some of the challenges that I've seen very regularly in the space of blockchain include things like performance. Blockchains sometimes are simply too slow for us to be able to address real business issues, especially when we look at things like government and you have millions of transactions per second. We have too many blockchains, so how do we integrate all these 100 of parallel chains that don't always talk to each other? So cross-chain integration I found is an extremely important issue to address. Another important one that I find extremely valuable is how do we get qualified resources? Every different blockchain uses a different language. It's sometimes quite easy to get people that know how to speak JavaScript or maybe Solidity, but if we look at new blockchains like Cardano, try to find a programmer that knows how to program Cardano, you're going to look a long time. Luckily, in Dubai, we have been able to create a local ecosystem, but we have access to a global, regional ecosystem that extends as far as India, Asia, Vietnam, and many other places where we have access to cost-effective resources. I'm a technology. My challenges tend to be addressed in their area, and I try to solve them. So I want to have my panelists' view on what they consider to be the challenges that they have faced over the last few years and how to address these challenges to create the future. Laura.
So as a random marketing agency, we worked with countless of projects, I think more than 100 or so since 2016. And a lot of things you already mentioned very well, George, but basically any company that is starting out has the first problem. That is, of course, the funding. So they need to find the right investors, the right people. It's not about just getting the money. Nowadays, if you have at least a decent idea with a pretty good team, you'll get the money. But it's about finding the smart money, the smart investors. This is who are not just giving you the money, but also giving you the insights, the resources, the network. This is the very important thing. And
otherwise, the money gets burned and disappears.
Yes, exactly. But the network stays. So then moving forward is the network, finding the right things. I would say one thing that was a very big misconception of ours as an agency when we first started out, we thought, okay, we know marketing very well, we have the best talent, we'll do great. We know how to do social media, we know how to outreach, we know how to get PR and so on. But then we realized this industry is so driven by partnerships, by people who you know, by your network. And if you don't have the right network, if you're not going out, if you're not meeting people, you'll work twice as hard, maybe 3 times as hard as you would if you would find the right people. Let's say now I'm here, I met, let's say, one influencer. Now if I go to him and say, hey, I have this client, maybe you want to work with them, it's going to be a warm introduction, and he's more likely to answer than if it would be like a cold email. I think you're going to agree on this. The same thing is if you want to speak at conferences, you want to attend conferences. It's one thing that you do a cold email, try cold outreach when they don't know who you are, and the other is if you get introduced, you meet some people, and they're like, hey, this is my background, I would love to speak at your conference, I would bring this value to it, could I? And there's going to be way, way more chances you get accepted and you get invited. So it's all about the right people you know, and I encourage everyone here in the audience, those who are listening and not on their phones, to start networking. Meet as much people as you can, say what you do, be super helpful. One thing that I learned, and this is something, again, that could be counterintuitive, is just help people free of charge and don't expect anything out of it, because in a worst case scenario, you're just gonna have someone who owns you. On a best case scenario, they might think to return the favor and bring you something more valuable. So the other challenge is, of course, the network, building that. And number 3 is being different and communicating what you do, your product, in the very easy to understand language. What you were saying, George, that there, yes, all the blockchains have like scalability issues, infrastructure issues. You can't really host very big programs out of it or do some exceptional things because it's like still very, very new industry. But let's say you're building out something that's exceptional, some layer 1 that's definitely gonna change the future. How do you communicate that? How can you make sure the other audience, your target audience, understands what you're doing and knows that you're different among all the other, let's say, layer 1 that you're creating, which is like more than 1,000 probably right now. So the very, very big challenge that I see founders have is positioning and communicating what they do in a very, very easy to understand language that your target audience who might need your product would actually understand that what you're doing is the thing that you're looking for. So trying to have this connection between you, your product, and your target audience is definitely a challenge. And I think I could go on for days and days on this question, so I think I can pass my microphone to someone else here.
Your colleague, James.
So the challenge that in the space, the main challenge that I see...
we skipped Paulius. Sorry, Paulius. Go ahead.
No worries. Keep on, James. I'll take from you afterwards.
Thank you. The main challenge I see in the space is, actually, as an influencer, I would say the amount, if you Google me, like stock guru or crypto guru, and you just see what happens, it's so many fake accounts are created of me daily on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. They're messaging my audience. There's so much scamming going on in the space. And I think this is the biggest challenge. We once found one of my audience members, they got scammed for 500,000 US dollars. And when we tracked this account, if someone like convinced them to log into their computer, took their money, When we followed the trail of money, in that account, in that blockchain, was $70 million. So these scammers are making huge amounts of money from average people, and that's the problem a little bit with crypto. The technology is a bit difficult, so we need to educate people. This problem is a big one, and I think if it's not addressed urgently, it could really fester into a really big problem for the crypto industry. So fixing all these people that are preying on people that are coming into the space, the way you fix it, education. So I have courses that teach people what is crypto, how to protect your crypto, etc., etc. Education. Another one is I'm getting all the founders, so the CEO of Binance, the CEO of Femex, the CEO of Bybit, I'm getting them together to create a kind of union where they're working with governments, working with the police force to try and stop these scammers internationally. So technology of crypto is amazing as it gives money, the power of your money, the power of your finances into your hands, but it also has the problem of other people being able to prey on people using this technology and being able to do it anonymously from countries that don't have good policing. And UAE is also working on this issue as well. So that's something that's really needs to be fixed in the space, and I think it's urgent. Because like as an influencer, I'm seeing how much this is growing and because they're making so much money. So I think this is one of the biggest hurdles for the crypto space that needs to be addressed, is taking out the scammers that are preying on people that are coming into the industry. And we don't want that in the industry. It just gives the whole industry a bad name. Every single project is affected by this. So many hacks happen, so we should work as a collective to stop the spread of scammers and people stealing money from other people in the space. I think that's one of the biggest issues that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, Paulius, we just skipped you, but I guess legal aspects are always a little bit behind schedule, but they still have some challenges as well.
Yeah, so there was a saying that at least at first when the all crypto projects just emerged, everyone was just doing the project and thinking about legal stuff afterwards when they start and launch and actually get like a lot of funding, and then they became interesting for the governments and etc. So now the situation is changing a lot. Because we get like a very early request from our potential clients who are coming to us and saying that we have this business idea and we want to implement it, and can you help us? And basically now we get like a lot of international requests, and we see one of the common problems is just to find the right jurisdiction where to start on various aspects, on the taxation aspect and on the other aspect as well, whether their project is manageable in that specific jurisdiction. For example, if you are trying to do tokenization or NFTs of real estate, you will have like a lot of problems in US or Europe because you're dealing with security regulations. So basically, the clients are looking for a jurisdiction where they could have like a different interpretation of their project and maybe avoid those heavy regulations on their heads and basically stopping the whole project to succeed. So this is one of the challenges that they always have to overcome and consult legal counsels globally just to find the right decision and the right jurisdiction for their project to proceed. Of course, when we are working not only on the legal aspects, but we have to advise also on the business perspective and business development questions. We see like a lot of challenges just to find the right team members and talent for the project to succeed. Because sometimes we see like a good idea which has like enormous potential, but people just struggle to find talent and struggle to find people who can actually execute the idea. And I think it's like a challenge, but of course this is also a thing that the whole crypto community in the blockchain market has to offer, is that community aspect and network. Because at least comparing it to traditional business environment, I see much more cooperation and much more willingness to help and do something together than in comparison with, let's say, conventional businesses. So when there is like a problem, we also on the other side see solutions, and it's only a matter of, let's say, putting the right amount of effort and all the solutions are there. It depends if you take it or not, because the technology and the whole community has like a lot to offer.
I believe that in this space, one of the key elements that I think is extremely important is creativity, authenticity, and innovation. So it is important that when you create or build a new idea, you need to cook it. It's like the way you cook a meal. You don't release it until all the ingredients have been properly put together. I can give you some examples where we actually bring real value, and then I'll ask my panelists to expand on that. One example was here where we had EduChain, which tried to solve the problem of fake university degrees and others. Because as you know, many people claim to be doctors of something, but you know, it's not quite clear. Maybe it was in the morning cereal box that they got the doctor degree. And it's very easy to impersonate. It's very easy to impersonate a YouTuber and ask your friends for money. Obviously, the existing platforms, Twitter, Facebook, don't seem to solve that problem. So being able to put education and authenticity on chain is very important. The second one is sometimes about optimizing and saving money for business. So I'll give you an example. The largest telecom organization in the world, probably many of you are about, they operate in about 50 countries. And they had a challenge, and the challenge was how do they deal with suppliers? And the paperwork that goes back and forth with their suppliers, which include, for example, Huawei. I was CTO of Huawei for 6 years, 20 countries. Lenovo, HP, and many others, creates a lot of paperwork. You know, how many mobiles were delivered, how many servers, how many cellular towers, how many batteries. Maybe I ordered 1,000, but only 99 came. So all these adjustment papers are very expensive for the business. So what they did is they implemented a supply chain management by smart contracts that get signed between them and the suppliers. What was the net result? This organization in telecommunication, which was implemented locally here in UAE and designed locally, is saving over $400 million per year. Now imagine what this is doing for this organization, what can it do for government and so on. So I want our panelists to maybe share some stories from their use cases where they saw this tremendous amount of application and innovation changing or creating a new world.
If I may change a little bit of my answer, and I could give you a lot of use cases, but I think what I would love to especially share with this audience are the things that are still not created, and the biggest, what I believe the next big things are. And if you're still looking for the idea and you're still looking for the use case that is not being solved yet, I want to try and focus on that, if that's okay with you, George.
Yes.
Awesome.
This is very flexible.
Yes.
We want the audience to get nuggets so that
Yes.
when they go home, they have a to-do list.
Yes, and I think, George, you're a great moderator. So I think first thing that definitely is going to be the next big thing throughout next 5-10 years is the company is going to create a very comfortable and easy to use hardware for metaverse. Because now metaverse is huge. Everyone's saying, oh, we're creating this metaverse, this one. There's a Decentraland. There are so many ones. Super amazing. But I don't want to put those huge Oculus glasses on top of me and look funny, basically. Or let's say everyone is talking like with Facebook and Meta. Oh, there's going to be meetings there. Yes, once again, I don't want to be here in a conference with my huge glasses looking silly. So once someone will create a very easy to use glasses that are going to be seamless, just like, sunglasses or regular seeing glasses, to go into metaverse, and the whole experience is going to be seamless, that's going to be the next big thing. And I'm definitely looking for a company who's going to be doing that.
It's coming already.
Sorry?
These glasses, they're already coming. So about 8 years ago, I was a developer for Google Glass on the first prototype edition. Remember these glasses you had, and you had this little prism in your face, and you could see like a screen? So I was like tinkering with this technology 8 years ago, and back then it was amazing. Like when I put it on, I was loving it because I'm a nerd and technical guy. And you could see a screen, you could take pictures, you could watch YouTube videos while everyone's sitting next to you and you're watching like a YouTube video, very cool. And that was probably the most advanced one that I had seen. And at the time, I was like, in 1 year, no one's going to have mobile phones. We're all going to be using this Google Glass. Now I've learned not to be so optimistic. It's been 8 years since then. But I think now the technology is getting really advanced. You have Apple coming out soon with this Google Glass. You've seen Snapchat with this, Facebook. And once this happens, once we go away from this Oculus, like this covering your face, it's going to take off on the metaverse. And it's coming very soon. But I think it'll be from the big companies. because the technology, the software and the hardware to bring it together is very difficult. It's like really advanced technology. Maybe it comes from smaller innovators, but I think it'll be from the big, they're working on this with thousands of engineers and developers. And it won't actually, in my opinion, it's not going to be VR like you see with the Oculus. We're going to go straight to AR. So VR is virtual reality. AR is augmented reality. Augmented reality means over your vision, so over your glasses, you're going to see a digital overlay over your real world. And I think we move straight into that technology and skip the whole, everyone's like VR, metaverse, but I think really the metaverse will be straight away into AR. So if you're building VR, keep that in mind, that I think we're going to just sidestep and go over VR and go straight into AR because it's really practical. That's what we can have mass application.
I love it, and definitely who creates is going to be the next big thing. The other huge opportunity is, as George mentioned, there's a huge lack of talent of developers, like Cardano developers. For example, now, if you know how to code Haskell, you can make like from 15 to 20K per month, and it's like such a new language for a year or a little bit more. So when there's going to be some sort of infrastructure company, whatever the concept is going to be, who will create these very specific niche talents like programmers, designers, developers, who can create, for example, things on metaverse, 3D artists, maybe very, very niche ones, but they're gonna be in very, very high talent. This is gonna be a huge thing because like everyone here in the audience who is building the product, they need the specific developers and they will pay the premium to get the best talent. So if you can have some kind of program where you take people, educate them, and then basically let them be hired by the top companies, this is a huge thing. So whoever is in programming thinking what to do with their life, think about education, think about preparing programmers, programming schools as well, but very, very niche ones. And then number 3 is, as our dear panelists already mentioned, is verification of the identity. Even I don't have a lot of followers on social media, I think like 20, 30K. But there are still people impersonating me and also asking money from my followers to invest in my bots and follow my trade, these kind of fake things. So whoever is going to create some sort of algorithm or some kind of verification of identity, because there's a lot of fake scammers out there, is also going to be very, very rich. So if you can put your identity somehow on the blockchain, that you can be verified that who you are, this is who you are, because nowadays social media companies don't have the resources to put verified badge on everyone, basically, unless you're like top tier celebrity. So having some sort of authentication, maybe, I don't know, through your wallet, through your some NFTs, that this is definitely who you are. I really love that Instagram is bringing NFTs on board. So for example, if everyone knows I have this specific NFT and this is definitely me, this is also in some sort of way a verification of your identity. So creating that identity is definitely something that's very, very important for the next 5 years. And yeah, I think I could, again, go on and on for ages, so I think I'll let my panelists add something up.
Yeah, there is a big project in Europe about the self-sovereign ID, which is actually trying to solve that. So you look for self-sovereign ID, Google for European Union, you'll see a lot of work being done in that area. Of course, this has some legal aspects. So Paulius, tell us what you think are the upcoming innovations in the legal aspects to speed up the implementation of blockchain in both government and private industry.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that are just stopping a bit the implementation is, of course, the early stage of technology. And this is the thing that the governments want for something that is actually working and can solve the problems in quite efficient way. As the blockchain itself is just a bit too slow at the moment for many of the operations that we're having, because we're having like conversation with central banks and they're saying, okay, like our conventional methods can process like thousands transactions in a millisecond, and if we switch to blockchain, it will take longer. But then you take like a tool of education and you provide like a real-time examples of the problems that can be solved, like even at the current moment. And I can also tell you like a funny story that happened back in Lithuania, where we had like a situation of loss of data just because it was stored in private servers of the government. And the data was destroyed because those servers were flooded after a storm. So there was like a loss of 30% of patient medical data just because of the use of old technology, storing of that very sensitive data in conventional servers. And when we talked with the government about that back in Lithuania and said, okay, you could have stored that on your private blockchain, which is also a thing where you can ensure privacy and security. And of course, if something goes wrong with, for example, one node where the information is stored, you'll have like a number of other nodes running, and you can easily, let's say, recover that information, and it will not be lost in the first place because it's stored in different nodes all across, for example, server rooms that are located in the whole, let's say, different areas of the country. So I think if you educate enough and you see the value, the legal issues that might arise for the implementation, they can be very easily solved. Because when there is like an actual use case and advantage, I see like a lot of, let's say, political initiatives and of course changes in regulations happening just because of the reason that there is so much benefit out there for the using of technology.
James, what you consider to be the key innovative that is coming down the line in this area of blockchain and NFTs?
I love ideas, so I literally like could explode right now and just say like thousands of different industries. Like,
Top ones, top 3.
When he was talking about this drive, this storage of data, there's a company working on this called Ghost Drive. They're doing amazing. They're making a decentralized Web3 Google. But I think the biggest innovations are going to come, the industries that I see coming up, gaming, GameFi, this is why I'm in this space. There's half the world, 3 billion people are playing games. And when they merge this technology with gaming, it's really like, this is huge, 3 billion people. That I think is going to be a big industry. And the next one, there's like obesity around the world, people that are unhealthy. And I think another wave that's coming, so I usually predict like next waves that are coming, and what I really see as a big one is move to earn. So moving to earn. So this is a big one that's coming. So you're doing fitness and you're getting paid. And I'm seeing that there's already a company, Stepan, that's working on this, and they're already huge and a genius concept. You get sneakers and then you go for a walk, and people are earning like $70 a day, $100 a day by going for walks. And this is really, the governments will really fund this kind of industry because there's so much obesity, unhealth in the world. And I think this one could be a great use case to improve people's lives. So move to earn will be a very big one. And it's really like so much, this is the invention of the next internet. So every single aspect of life will be revolutionized by this technology. But again, play to earn. The biggest one that I actually saw, and people don't really, like governments tried to limit this, and I think that was a giant mistake. It's ICOs, initial coin offering. Why this was a big thing for the world, really big, is because I'm from traditional stock. My channel before used to be Stock Guru, so I used to teach people about stock investing. And IPOs, initial public offering, the first time that a company is going public, in my opinion, this was a giant scam to the average person. Why? By the time a company IPO'd, it had gone through minimum 8 levels of investing. So investors on 8 different levels have already invested in the project, and then the public is offered this project, like for example, Google, Facebook, etc., at $100 billion valuation. The project is launched to the public for them to invest in that project at $100 billion valuation, meaning there's no upside for the average investor, the public. So it's a giant Ponzi scheme. A few group of people in Silicon Valley, a few banks were making all their money, they're releasing the public off, and then they're partnering with the governments to say that this is okay, initial public offering is good, ICO is bad. ICO changed the game. With your mobile phone, you can release a company and you can have people from the very beginning investing in this company. Everyday people, anywhere in the world, Nigeria, Africa, Canada, Mexico, when they have a phone, they could send some Bitcoin, invest in a project at the beginnings of the project. And then the governments, and I'm assuming the banks and the people that protect the IPOs in the Silicon Valley, they came out and started making ICOs, this is a scam, this is a scam. But really IPOs and the whole traditional stock system is a scam. And ICOs was a revolution that could really help the average person. So that's why there's also a balance between innovation and governments and regulations limiting that innovation. Because ICO was like like really a savior for the average person. They could actually invest their money and get returns, where they think if they invest in the stock market, they invest in this new public company, IPO, they're going to make money. But really at $100 billion valuation, very rarely are they going to ever make money. They're just going to mainly lose money. So that was a big innovation that was really stifled by governments and by the people that are in control of the stock markets. And that's why we need to be careful, and we need to, and they think that it's good to stifle this innovation. It's never good to stifle innovation. It's never good for governments to stop people from innovating, because imagine you stop the internet, like what that would mean for the world. Imagine you stop the development of the car. You don't want to stop this. It's really, we need to foster innovation, we need to protect innovators, and we need to help them come up with these ideas. Yeah.
Okay, David's slowly looking at me. I can see the clock ticking away. It's time to kind of wrap up our panel. So I want to give maybe everybody a little bit of 1 minute to give the final nuggets for all of you. For me, the nuggets to you, think beyond NFT and metaverse. For me, I look at NFT as an authentication mechanism, identity mechanism for authenticity. I look at more metaverse as kind of a digital twin that allows us to combine both the real world and the physical world together. So I believe that most top solutions for government and private industry are the ones that are going to combine not just those two technologies, but others together as well. I can give you an example. I call it Conscientious City, which is one of the projects we're trying to do here, that combines both NFTs, metaverse, but it also combines artificial intelligence. It combines IoT, which is devices that collect information, 6G, so you transform the data. And obviously, artificial intelligence enables us to automate some of the tasks. So think beyond of just one single technology, but how you can combine technologies in a creative way to solve a business problem. And who is that target problem? Solve locally, but think globally. Why think globally is important? Where is those billion people that need problem to solve? Laura.
And continuing from George, so if you have your problem, then think about your target audience. Who are the people you're targeting? It can't be everyone. It can't, like, I love when clients come to us and say, okay, so who you're targeting? Everyone. No, it's not everyone. Choose a very niche audience, pick it, and then find the right channels, how to reach that specific target audience, have the right messages. And if you have the case study and proof of concept for a very, very narrow niche audience, and then you can go to investors and say, hey, I spent this amount of money, I capitalized this audience, they love it, we see the track record, we see the ROI. If I get X, I can scale this from local to global. That's going to be basically the ideal formula for your success, because investors want to see that you know what you're doing, you already have the track record, the proof, and then just say, okay, how much do you need to make this from 0 to 10x? So definitely think about that. And then the other thing, very, very important, what I want everyone here who are still listening to kind of take home is that the founders need to have their full heart in and need to prepare for a roller coaster if you're building a product. And there you need to be very social, very out there. If you're building a product and you're sitting at home in front of your computer, just quit it right now. If you're the CEO, if you're the founder, you need to go there, meet people, network, host events, be in events. Even if you don't have the invitation to the event, still show up. In most of the cases, you can still somehow make your way out. Try asking your friends for an invitation. Just be very, very pushy out there. And like, this is not a job for someone who loves comfort. You need to be out there and push it. So this is something I really want everyone to listen, that you're building a product, push it, because you're the best brand ambassador and you're the one communicating the power, the passion, that intention you're building the product. And if the world doesn't see it, then what's the point of building it?
So be outside your comfort zone. Push the envelope.
Exactly.
Paulius.
For me, it's always problem solving. And metaverse and NFTs, at first, for me, was something that I cannot find a use case. But after some research, I saw that there are like real life problems which can be easily solved by combining those things. And there is, if we find a connection between the real world NFTs and metaverse, then we have like actual use cases that can bring like a lot of value. And just elaborating just a bit of what you, my colleagues, just said, is the international aspect. Because for me, metaverse and NFTs, they can power up every single business idea on the global scale. So you can easily reach your client by being in Dubai, and the client is, for example, situated in US, and you can just accelerate your business growth in a, let's say, enormous scale. So this is basically the takeaway, that you always need to find, let's say, real use case and problem that you're trying to solve, and use the technology and be creative.
James, some final words.
As you were saying, George, find a problem that needs to be solved and think big, like what are the big world problems, and solve those problems, or back or invest behind the people that are solving those big world problems. Because with this technology, the amount of interest, the amount of money that's coming into this space, we can really change things, and that's what this technology is there for. So really try to change the world, make big changes, like think of the biggest problems, solve them, fund the people that solve those big problems. Invest in people. So if you find really good CEOs, really good founders, really smart people, public people that are building something to change the world, usually if they have a public name, it's good to invest in those people, because they have to build the project because they're public. So if they don't, they get a lot of backlash. And just stay, I spoke with one of the richest people in the world the other day, and he told me that his big secret is stay very interested in all new things. Even when you get old, don't just, you hear NFT and you go, oh, that's a scam, I'm going to ignore this, or metaverse. No, try it, test it, play with it, make your own opinion about it, and actually test it first. Stay, and that's what's going to keep you from getting old. You might physically get old, but what makes most people's minds old is they stop trying new things. They stop experimenting and playing around in these technologies and this space. So keep innovating, keep testing things, try it for yourself, and you're all here in such an amazing space, and most of us are already wealthy. If not, you will be. So it's not just about wealth. I like to say, it doesn't matter that you have $100 million. The reason you have $100 million is because it means you can feed hundreds of millions of people, and you can give them jobs, security, houses, lives. So your job is not to amass this big fortune in your bank account or in your stock portfolios. Your job is to use that wealth to provide good quality of life for people on earth and leave the world better for your children, their children. That's the only reason you're here. It's the whole world doing this. Don't get too egotistical either. I am the best, I did all this. It's not you, it's the whole world working to this point. All the technology, all the thoughts of everyone that's existed before has come to this place to create something amazing for the world. So don't you be like humble and create from this place and this understanding.
I think I've said those words before, you know. Learn something new every day. Stay young, stay foolish. If you go on the internet, you'll figure out to say those famous words. David, back to you. I would like to thank my esteemed panels to spend such a great time here this morning. And for the audience, of course, the ones that are here, because without them, there's no reason. And the ones that are out there very far away, both in the real world and in the metaverse. So thank you for listening. Oh, maybe some questions from the audience, or anybody else?
We haven't got time. You've already done an extra half an hour, George.
Dave, back.
I love you. I love you. I know that. Anyway, give me a massive round of applause for our panel. How good was that? Brilliant. James Polius, Laura, and George. These guys are around. Catch them online. We've got a wealth of knowledge and fantastic stuff. I would love to hear you all day, but I can't. So there we go. Give them a round of applause again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.